So, Daredevil, new series on Netflix. New series on Netflix that everyone's been going crazy about. It's pretty much the darkest thing in the MCU to date. I think the second darkest thing would probably be maybe the Incredible Hulk. Otherwise, this is definitely the most brutal and the darkest. Eventually leading to a crossover with The Defenders. They're also gonna have Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist. They might have the Punisher, which would be cool to see that rebooted for a freaking third time. So, as for the plot, it's basically simple. Matt Murdock, who's Daredevil, set out to make his city a better place. His origin story is that when he was a kid, he got hit by a truck, and when he got hit by the truck, some chemicals, like there was some chemical barrels over on this side, and they, he flew into those or something, and they got into his eyes, and it's, it's retold every time, so it's hard to say, but, they got into his eyes, and so he's blind, like he's technically blind, he cannot see, but all of his other senses are super enhanced, like he can hear super well, and he can feel really well, and what happens is, he can, like, follow people and basically know exactly what they're doing, just because, he can hear their heartbeat, he can, to see if they're lying, he can, hear how fast they're breathing, and, yeah, which is interesting, it's cool. So, yeah, and then Wilson Fisk, who's the villain, he does a new cliche, which, it's kind of like Ultron's cliche in a way. He thinks the only way to make the city a better place is to just kill everybody, or not everybody, but a whole bunch of people, and so that's kind of like Ultron's. And there isn't really much to say about this. A lot of the show is in the characters, which I'm getting into now. So, Matt Murdock, played by Charlie Cox, he's a good protagonist. We see how, like most traditional Daredevils, even though he's a really dark, brooding guy, he does not like to kill people like Batman. He has good chemistry with Foggy and Karen. You see his relationship with Eldon Henson as, they've been friends a long time, and you can see that, and you can feel that. And with Karen, they have a little bit of romantic chemistry, but I think she's leaning toward Foggy a little more, which is good. That's good. You also, Charlie Cox does a really good job as, even though his face is covered half the time, he does a really good job. You can see the decisions on his face, how it's like, I'm trying to do the right thing, and how hard that can be sometimes. And there's Karen Page, a new character who I had not heard of before, even though she was in the comics. You see how she is righteous and tries to do the right thing. Good chemistry with Foggy, and there isn't really much to say about her. So Foggy Nelson, played by Eldon Henson, he's Matt's lawyer partner. You do get a good sense of the relationship, the strong bond between him and Matt. How they've been friends for a really long time. They know each other. They are they're like peas in a pod, and he has good romantic chemistry with Karen. The only thing is, I don't like that it's somewhat of a spoiler. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it. So then there's Wesley, or James Wesley, played by Toby Leonard Moore, and he's the first of the likable villains. He really is. You see how him and Fisk have a bond. Like Fisk is telling Vanessa, he's just like, Wesley's more than just my assistant. He's a friend. And like when, see how mad he gets at Daredevil when, Wesley is put down. Yeah. However, I would like to see that relationship addressed more. You can tell by the way they talk to each other it's like that, but you just, you want to see it addressed more. Then there's Ben, who's the good guy reporter, Ben Urich. He's played by Vondi Curtis Hall in this one, and I'm not sure if he was African American in the comics. I don't think he was, because he was played by Joe Pantoliano back in 2003, but I don't know, that's not the point. He's kind of cliche, that the reporter that, it's I guess he's kind of washed up, hasn't really had a good story in a while, but you can tell inside of him, he's a reporter, like, he doesn't quit the job and go do something else, because that's in him. And there's Leland Owsley, played by Bob Gunton. And he never really grew on me that much, because he wasn't in it that much. You do see how much Wilson Fisk relies on him, and he ends up being pretty much the key to the whole thing. And Bob Gunton does pull off the kind of funny bad guy, like, the kind of cocky, arrogant one, and I do see, I really wish that Fisk would have killed him earlier. Then there's Vanessa, played by Ayelet Zerzer, who never really grew on me, not as much as the other villains did. You do see you know, she's first kind of introduced as this kind of subtle woman, this art, who likes art, but then during the bombing scene, you really get to see how evil she is, or how dark she is. Like, she does not have a conscience. You can tell. I mean, that is just gone in her, which is really interesting. There's Claire Temple, played by Rosario Dawson. She wasn't really in it that much. She was in like 5 episodes, but yeah, you could tell though that she had a thing for Mats, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Then there's the final character, who is Wilson Fisk, played by Vincent D'Onofrio, and he is quite possibly the best MCU villain to date, if not the best Marvel villain, if not one of the greatest villains. I mean, good gosh, he is so awesome. I mean, D'Onofrio does a fantastic job. The only thing that is wrong with his performance is his voice is a little gravelly. It's like, I am not the Good Samaritan. I am not what I thought that I was. Yeah, that's not the greatest impersonation, but you can tell. You know, you really do a good job. You know, you sympathize with him, you root for him, and almost as much as you root for Daredevil, and you see how they're parallels in so many ways. Him and Daredevil are. I mean, yeah. But the only thing is, his motivation is kind of cliche. It's becoming cliche now. It wasn't really, yeah. So yeah, skip right here to skip the spoilers. So I was sad when Wesley died. I mean, he was such a. I did see it coming, but he was a good villain. He was likable, so I was, yeah. I also was sad when Ben died, and I did not see that coming, because I thought he's kind of a vital part of the Daredevil story in a way. It's like if they had killed off Rhodey in the first Iron Man movie, which wouldn't have led to some really bad plastic surgery that made him look like Paul from, Uganda. Gosh, what was that movie called? Ooh, in that movie about the Hutus and the Tutsis that I do not remember the name of. Why, man? That's just. It hurts my mind that I can't remember the name of a movie. That is almost physically painful to me. I really could not have cared less, though, when Leland died. I mean, I just did not care about his character. I saw it coming. I'm like, well, they've all been picked off. I mean, Nobu, then it was first the Russians, then Nobu, then Madame Gao left. Then, yeah, now it's his turn, so yeah. The ending with Hoffman, you know, I like how he was there, and then he ended up being the key to the whole thing, kind of like the Reavers and Firefly. They were just there in the background as kind of a subplot, then they became super important. And it wasn't anticlimactic, really, it was just extraordinarily sudden. I mean, you know, it's all built into one episode, which, I mean, you know, it still wasn't bad. And I think they should have killed Wilson Fisk. I mean, I think maybe a subplot for Season 2 could have been Vanessa busting him out of jail, or maybe Madame Gao busting him out of jail, and maybe Vanessa hires Bullseye to go and kill Daredevil. That would be really cool to get revenge on him for putting Fisk in jail. But yeah. So, all in all, this is a great series. I mean, this is quite possibly the best thing in the MCU. I think that the Avengers will always be the greatest thing in the MCU, but I don't know, this is debatable. I would say this is worth watching at the premiere, which is my highest rating for a TV show. And so, yeah, it's incredible. It just is. This is a really good series. I highly recommend it. I know the only bad thing is you have to have Netflix to watch it. It doesn't come on regular cable. Maybe it'll be like a few of the Netflix shows where other channels buy the rights so they can run reruns of them. And, I don't know, it will come out on DVD, so yeah. But, all in all, yeah. So, see you guys later. Subscribe. Bye.